Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rebecca of Artistrebeccals, and this is the channel where we have fun with art. And today we're going to be learning basic watercolour techniques for beginners using water-soluble pens that children would use. Let's go. Okay everybody, so you're going to need a water brush. This is a generic brand. A water brush I have used on my channel before. It is a brush that is refillable with water, and you can get them in different sizes. And this is a medium, well, a small flat. These are the Stabilo Power Max pens. You don't have to buy these, but I do recommend that the tip is broad, a fat tip. Not too fat, but you can get away with them being this thin, but they tend to sink into the paper more and will leave more detail. And what we want is fat that will sit on the surface and we can spread it out with water. And this is a very calming technique that will help you see the fun of dissolving the colour and playing with it on paper without being stressed that you're wasting paint or that you're wasting good paper. And on that subject of good paper, we're using not very good paper, which is the Canson Graduate watercolour paper, which I am using up in my sketchbook. However, it is going to be good for techniques like this, using water-soluble pens. And what I have done is pre-wet the paper, because watercolour paper will behave better if you wet it first, let it dry, and then do your painting. So mine is just a little damp and it's drying off at the moment. And then what I will do is we will get some of these pens and we will start just having random scribbling fun. You're going to just do this. So with me, get your pens and a green if you have one. Doesn't have to be, it could be anything. And just scribble and see what picture you can make from it. The fun thing about these pens, they're not light fast, and light fast just means that over time, when the light hits it, they will fade. But it is in a sketchbook, and so it doesn't really matter if we use artist grade material or not. So I'm squeezing water out of this brush, and can you see, when we spread it, all the ink from that pen is melting and merging, and it's really quite magical to watch. This is what you would do with watercolour, except you wouldn't scribble on the page unless you're using the pencils, or the next stage I'll show you are the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. Basically those are water-soluble wax crayons. I recommend the Neocolor 2 because of their quality, and you can buy them individually at Jackson Art Supplies or at Art Miranda. So they don't have to be expensive. But for today, this is total beginner. We just merge it all in. And look how the page looks completely different now, doesn't it? And we're going to let that dry. You can rub off excess on the next page, clean your brush. Okay, so this page is dry, and can't you see all of the lovely colours? We've got the cloud has automatically created itself up here. And we've got some lovely grass area here. And what I thought we could do is use the same green again. We're basically sticking to two colours at the moment. And I'm going to add some long grass here. And then I'm going to go in with a red or a pink, because we're going to create some flowers. And I'm just scribbling. And then we'll go in with that dark blue, and we'll scribble again. And you've got instant flowers there. And it didn't take much, did it? And then we might add some hills. So there's a darker green that is a narrower, a finer tip. And I'm just going to draw a hill. And another one. And then I'll go back to, I have a fatter version of the same colour. You'll see the colours that you get in a basic set of your pens, and there's usually a light and a dark green. I'm going to add the light green to part of this second hill. And then back to our water brush and just squeeze it a little. I just always love, it only will work in a watercolour sketchbook, and thankfully it works in this one because this is pen and wash, and it doesn't always work. It will work in the Hahnemühle bamboo sketchbook, which is what I prefer using than this one, but it's more expensive. And so for total beginners, for pen and wash, this sketchbook will cope, and you will get good results from it. What you won't get is good results if you're using artist grade watercolours or even student grade watercolours, because the paint, though it runs like this, different paints, different colours will run in a different way, depending, I mean, it's quite complicated. And so this is helping you to learn water control, how much water to add. You will get different textures. You will get things like, they call them cauliflowers. And cauliflowers is where you've added too much water to an area that's already started to dry. And sometimes artists want that, and other times they really don't. And so you'll always be taught we don't want cauliflowers, particularly in the sky, because it's an unsightly mark that you can't get rid of. And so it is where pigment has started drying, and then you have added in more water, and it pushes and can't dry fully. So you might see I've done some here, and we might get a pattern coming. The pigment is less, but it's kind of pushing up, and I like that for added foliage effect. So we leave it to dry and we don't mess with it anymore. And I will then go above and draw something on the hill. And I might put a couple of houses in. I think I will do an orange house. Just up here, in the middle. Now, because it's quite far away, you don't need detail. Though I always get lost in detail. Do a purple roof. With a purple chimney. We'll have two of them. And just add in the water. And also to the chimney. And can you see, because quite a lot of water is coming out, it's bled into the hill. Do you see what I mean? So I'm deliberately causing mistakes to show you what this is doing. Too much water now. Sometimes with a water brush, you need to learn to control how much pressure. And sometimes even when you're not doing any pressure, the water is constantly flowing. So you might like to use a normal paintbrush and a pot of water, but you still have to learn how much water to put on. And this is interesting. You'll think you've ruined it, and we're going to let it dry, and then we can make it better afterwards. But just look at that. It's like a blending house into the hill. It can also, that technique, be used for instant shadows. The trick is to always let things dry. It's terribly important to not be impatient and go back in when it is damp. Use the back of your hand and test very gently, pat the paper. And if it feels cold, or if it feels wet, then you must leave it. And if it's touch dry but cold, still leave it. Now what we're going to do is go back in with our pen and just go over. Can you see? It's still damp. This is what happens when you go in when it's still wet. The paper surface will start deteriorating. So you need to leave it to dry. Now we're going to go back in with the purple, test to make sure it is dry. You can see it's nice and neat now, and you've got a little bit of shadow from the purple. And now, for the green, go in with a bit of a darker green. Press, and I like to hold my water brush right at the end, and I just gently stroke, because we really don't want flooding of water, and I just bring that down. I don't do all because I like to have bits looking all different, because the hillside isn't all one colour. Now we're going to get the dark again, and I will go in around here to just kind of indicate a bit of difference, almost like hedging around, before the hill starts. And I'm going to go over the flowers, because when we were doing the hill, the water diluted some of the red even when I was doing the green. You can see these pens are quite vibrant on this paper, and that is a positive for this paper. As I say, I don't like it for beginners using watercolour, but beginners learning to get used to products that are water soluble before moving on to student grade watercolours, I think is perfect. It almost looks like it's been raining, so I'm just going to dab the blue flowers, because now the red look like that they've had rain on them and kind of merging. I'm going to do the same with the blue. I'm just literally squiggling my water brush over the blue, and I go back and forth. And wiping off the excess on the other page. Now, can you see as it dries, we're getting texture. We haven't had to add the texture. The pens and water have done it themselves. And the texture gives movement and makes the drawing come alive. There's more life to it. And I'm going to go in. We used a light green to start with, so I'm now going to go in with a dark green, and I'm just adding in a few more lines of grass, kind of long, luscious, kind of woodland grass, where you have lots of wildflowers growing. And I might go in with a pink. I do like pink. Has to be a particular pink. I don't like all pink. This is all right kind of pink, but it's more on the dirtier side of pink, which I'm not that fussed on. I quite like fluorescent pink, I must admit. Candy kind of pinks. And if I show you on this page, this pink is not bad when you do this. But because we're putting it over green, it can make it look darker. So again, you've got many uses with your pen. You can put it over the top of other colours and you've got a second colour. And over here, you'll see on this other page, we just add water. And it becomes a nice colour, doesn't it, that pink? So now, just going to dab we dab onto the pink, it makes them blend in with all the others. And then clean the brush, let it dry, and we're finished. Wasn't that easy? Using water-soluble pens that are cheap as chips that children will use, we have created a lovely landscape in our not so favourite watercolour sketchbook, but it's growing on me for this technique. It's an affordable sketchbook. You can get it for around, I'm going to say just about under, depending on the format. That's the layout style. You can get it for about €10 or just under. So I'm going to say for about 12 to 15 euro in France, you can do this project. So it's not bad. You will get a good sketchbook for the technique. Let's have a look again. You will get 56 pages for your €10 or under. And the pack of pens that are the chunky, I don't know, I'm not sure if they're still making these, but I will see and put a link from Amazon. But chunky water-soluble pens are going to be about €5 to €6, depending, if you buy brand or not. So I think it's a good price. And with that said, guys, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel. It is so important that you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel is a follow button. It's free. It's a completely free thing to do. And it really helps me out so much. Why does it help me? Well, at the moment, 90% plus of my followers are not subscribed to my channel. And that is telling the YouTube algorithm that I must be a spam rubbish channel, which means I am not being promoted and no one is getting to see my content. So I'm slaving away, enjoying what I'm doing, but I am slaving away creating content that hardly anybody is getting to see. So if you subscribe, YouTube will then notify you when I next upload a video, but they'll also promote my video. And if you leave a comment, they'll promote me even more. I would love to know, actually, have you bought this sketchbook or any sketchbook from the graduate range from Canson? And do you like this technique? Have you tried it in the past when you were younger, or are you trying it now as a beginner? And what brand of fibre tip water soluble pens do you use? And with that said, guys, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Your support is really appreciated, and I'm going to catch you really soon on the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.